Elizabeth Case brings more than 20 years of business development and sales experience with a variety of companies from retail to nonprofit management. She is passionate about relationship development, consistent communication, and follow-up. In 2011, Elizabeth drank the kool-aid of entrepreneurship. Some of us on this call might have had something to do with that, and started Yellow Dog Consulting, a marketing and sales consulting firm focused on the small business owner. Yellow Dog Consulting is designed to help growing businesses set up the foundation and building blocks of their marketing and sales efforts. Elizabeth is also a huge pop culture fan, which you may have noticed from her monthly pop culture roundup on the Yellow Dog blog. Elizabeth lives in Hillsboro, Oregon with her husband, who is not named here, the world's greatest yellow dog, Norm, and a chocolate lab who is still learning to be great, Cliff. In Elizabeth's 20-minute talk, she will share 3 guaranteed ways to grow your business with follow-up. Follow-up is the easiest and best way to grow your business as a small business owner. Every time you connect with someone and there's a spark, you have the opportunity to follow up and talk more about a mutually beneficial relationship, from referral partner to client or even resource. Join me in welcoming Elizabeth Case to share with us today as I remind my friend to start your speaker timer. Take it away.
There we go. Unmuting myself, getting to the screen. Oh my gosh, so much fun with technology. All right, I'm going to hide you all so I can see what I'm doing. Thank you guys for having me today. I'm so happy to be here, and we are going to talk about my very favorite thing when it comes to small business ownership, and that is follow-up. It is the single greatest way to get things done and grow your business. And I know why I have been successful and been in business for 10 years this month. So this is Norm and Cliff. And on May 1st, we celebrated my 10th anniversary of Yellow Dog Consulting. I started Yellow Dog Consulting in Seattle in 2011 to help my small business owner friends get systems and schedules in place for their sales and marketing. They were struggling and needed some hand holding, and it was kind of figuring out what exactly do you need to do, right? Because as a small business owner, you love what you got in business to do, but all that sales and marketing stuff isn't everybody's favorite. And so that is where I come in. But along the way, I really have found follow-up has been the right fit and what works to grow your business. So before we talk about follow-up, we need to have a very quick conversation about networking. And the beautiful thing is I don't have to talk much about this because Amanda talked about it last month. And so there's 3 main questions I ask when I attend a virtual or in-person networking event. The first question is, my screen got ahead of me. Number 1, is your target market there? Are your clients hanging out at these events? Are they showing up? And that's really important. And if you're trying to figure out where your clients are showing up, you can always ask your clients where they're hanging out. So think about that as well. Number 2, your clients might not be there, but are referral partners there? Are those folks that that you can be doing business with, are they hanging out at these events? And that can be just as valuable, as we all know. And the final question that we forget to ask sometimes, after a year in business, after a year of attending, have you received any business? And I know that's a weird question to ask, but I'm always amazed at how often people will spend so much time continuing to attend an event and then say, yeah, I've never gotten a referral from this. I've never gotten business from this. And I'm going, there's a lot of money that you're spending every month to not get business from this. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's the professional development or the relationships, and that's all right. But it is a question that I always recommend you consider when you're looking at networking events. So you've spent time, you put on mascara, you might be wearing slippers still, but that's okay. And you've attended this networking event. Now what? We're going to talk about follow-up. We're talking about 3 specific things. First, I want you to schedule time now to do your follow-up. So I want you to take a quick moment, grab your calendar, and I want you to block out 15 minutes within the next day. So hopefully later this afternoon or maybe you're booked with meetings or booked with gardening this afternoon. And so book that time tomorrow, just 15 minutes to make sure that all the follow-up from today's event you get done. So who did you connect with behind the scenes that you're emailing with already, or private messaging to check in with, that you need to send an email to and say, hey, we need to get Zoom coffee on the schedule, or we need to have a socially distanced walk, or we're finally inoculated, let's get crazy, lick each other's face and go out for drinks. Sorry, I'm inoculated today. I'm very excited for this. So I want you to schedule time right now to do your follow-up. I know. Why? Why do you need to be doing your follow-up? These numbers are insane, you guys. And yes, they're 10 years old, and yes, they're still crazy. You are leaving money on the table. Like my nugget said earlier, right? There are thousands of dollars I do not spend every year because nobody followed up with me. It blows my mind. We spent money, we got dressed, we left the house. I gave my business card, I was interested. Zilch. But here's the deal. The good news is, if you fall into that category, you are not alone. 48% of people never follow up with a prospect. 25% of people make a second contact and then they stop. Makes sense. Third, 12% of people make more than 3 contacts. But just 2% of sales are made on that first contact. 3% of sales are made on the second contact. 5 are made on the third contact. 10% of sales are made on that fourth contact. And 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. This is a lot. I'm going to leave this here for a second because these numbers make me happy. This is a great time to take a quick screenshot of this if you would like to, because it's just a quick reminder. So we're going to talk about how to get from that first to that 5th to 12th contact today, right? So scheduling time to do your follow-up. That seems to be a really big hurdle I find with folks. So make sure you're scheduling that follow-up. Here's a recommended schedule. I have, we're gonna talk about this later, but I have some kick-ass follow-up templates to help you grow your business. And in there, you get a cool spreadsheet that looks just like this, complete with pop culture references that I hope you get, because if you don't, well, okay, we've got some catch up to do. So I like to look at, within one day, I want you to follow up with those people, that stack of business cards, that stack of virtual business cards now that you wanted to connect with. An email is a great place to start if you are not a big fan of the phone, which a lot of people aren't these days. A lot of people never answer the phone if they don't recognize the number. So a quick follow-up is always great. And then a day or two later, you can do a follow-up phone call as well. And I also put in here to connect on social media. And we're going to talk about social media next, I promise you, right? And then looking at, okay, maybe 4 or 5 days later, often what I do there is the original email that I sent. I'm really organized. I'm so organized, I married a CPA. But the other day so 4 to 5 days later, I will reply to that email and just hit a reply all and say, hey, just wanted to circle back with you on this and see if you had time to get together. It's an easy way. A lot of people use their inbox to, sorry, I got distracted by the chat. A lot of people use their inbox to, as their to-do list. And so your email just got bogged down as the week went on and their work life happened. So I find that can be a helpful way to get people to respond. All right, just making sure I wasn't missing anything in the chat there. I think we are okay. All right, so here's kind of your schedule. And here's the deal. I think something especially I see with women is they feel like they're being pushy. But if somebody gave you their business card, if somebody said, I'm interested in what you're talking about, tell me more about this. When is that discovery session? When is your webinar again? You're not being pushy. They've asked you. The business card is a, hey, you should call me. I'm ready to talk. I'm interested in this. Tell me more about it. You're not being pushy. You need to do your follow-up, right? It'll be okay, I promise. So schedule that time to do your follow-up. Make sure it gets done. You're also going to have those times where you drop the ball. You find that business card in a purse a month later and you just fess up to it. I just found this in a pocket today and I'm so sorry I forgot to call you. So it's okay. All right, let's talk about social media. Fun fact about me, I am the marketing consultant who refuses to join Facebook. You won't find me there. You did notice that maybe I wasn't tagged in stuff in the promotion of this event because I'm not on Facebook. You have to be on the social media that's the right social media channels for you, and be where your audience is hanging out. And that is some of my overall philosophy on social media, which I'm happy to get into in a totally different conversation another time. But what I hear a lot from people is, it's not bringing me business. I think people put a lot of money and effort into their page or their contacts, and they're frustrated that it's not working. And I want to encourage you to think about social media a little bit differently. I want you to think of it as a supplement to your networking. I love using this. Social media is such a great way. So if 2% of sales are on that first contact, and then we're trying to figure out how to get to 5 to 12 contacts without sending somebody 12 emails or leaving 12 voicemails, your social media is such a great way to use it, do follow-up. So what I like to encourage is, within like a week of the networking event, connect with them on social media. So typically for me, that looks like connecting on LinkedIn, because that's where business is happening. It may be following their Facebook page, or if their business card or all their tags have their social media accounts and you're active on that platform, start following them there and connect. Right? It was great to meet you the other day. It was great to see you here. Engage, start liking their posts if there's somebody that you'd like to get to know better. But think about this as a supplement, as one more of those follow-up touch points, because your name's going to pop up in their feed. Also think about where your target market is hanging out. Absolutely, my target market is hanging out on Facebook. I know this. I have had many conversations with many of you on this call today about how much of my business is on Facebook. But you have to do what's right for you and pay attention to where your target market is hanging out. So if your target market is all over TikTok and that's something that you have capacity for, fantastic. If they're hanging out on Instagram and you like that, great. If Twitter stresses you out to think about, it's okay. You have to figure out the right things for you and your business. The other thing I want you to think about when it comes to social media is, are you engaging with your audience or are you talking at them? It's really easy to get your social media scheduled so that everything's scheduled and everything's pre-planned, so you don't have to think about it. It's all automated, and that is great. I do that too. But you also need to make sure that you're taking some time to engage with your audience, right? Respond when they ask questions. Sometimes you'll see somebody struggling. They've asked a question on social media and it's just kind of hanging out there. And you can tell, please just somebody start this conversation to get the ball rolling. You can be that person. It's a great way to just engage and connect and be a support system for them without spending any money. All right, so that is my preaching on social media, but it is a great follow-up tool that I think people don't think of as a follow-up tool. But my very favorite thing to talk about is email marketing. I am a certified MailChimp partner. I love newsletters. I want to make sure I'm catching everything in the chat. Good, we are good there. Your newsletter is the best way to be connecting with somebody when you're not, there's so many great things about newsletters. And it's a great follow-up tool. We're gonna talk about that. But your newsletter is a way to connect to your network when you're not selling them something. You want this to be the tool that you use to educate your network on your awesomeness. This is how you process, how you think about things, how you've solved a problem for a client, how you handle something specific. So that when the time is right, that they can just reply and say, okay, I'm ready to work with you. It also means that when you have something awesome to sell, that people will respond to it because they already know how great you are, because every month you share great stories about how awesome you are and all the cool things that you've done, and they know you are the expert in this. So when it's time, they can. The other thing about a newsletter, and what I have found most important about a newsletter over the last year, is that it's a reminder that you're alive and available. I was shocked at the change in my business in the spring of 2020. Everybody realized that the marketing efforts that they'd been using before, the showing up in person, the being out in the street, the being active in the chamber or whatever, it wasn't working anymore, and they needed to go back to that newsletter, to that very intimate way that you can get your name in their inbox on a regular basis. They know you're live and available. They know how you've pivoted your business during a pandemic. They know where to find you. They know the change to your hours. They know the additional services or products that you're now offering. It's just to remind them that you're there. It makes it easy for them to hit forward and send it to their client that they were just talking to you about. It reminds them that you're in business when somebody has asked them, gosh, I need somebody who does this and I can't find it. But here's the deal. Here's the proof that it works. This is from 1 week ago today. I got an email out of the blue from a guy that I have known for more than 10 years, who I haven't seen. I moved to Oregon 6 years ago from the Seattle area. I haven't seen him in 6 or 7 years. And I got this email from my friend Mark the other day saying, it's been more than a few years, but I still get your newsletter, which has informed me that you are a MailChimp expert. And then he went on to say, we have a client, we have a challenge. I had a call with his team yesterday and agreed to a statement of work by the end of the call. It was just that fast. And I remembered Mark was alive and kicking. I haven't heard from him. I haven't seen his newsletter, but he's seeing mine. He's seeing me on social media. He's getting my newsletter. That when he got stuck with a problem, he knew who was the person to call and help solve it. Now I just have to solve it by the end of the week. It's going to be fine. But this is it. This happens more often than I'd like to admit, because it just works. Here are the numbers with a newsletter, because I know what you're thinking. If you're going, you're not opening newsletters, you delete them all. You don't have time for that. The thing with a newsletter is 20 to 30% is a great open rate for your newsletter. And I know that means 70 to 80% of the people you're sending it to aren't opening it. And that's okay. You're not opening it either. But when the time is right, you're going to open that. So one of my favorite stories about this was my first year in business. I had just started sending a newsletter. I did not have great healthy list habits, but it was my third newsletter, I remember. And I got a response from somebody, this guy, John, that I knew through networking. And he said, hey, I didn't know you'd started your own marketing firm. We were just talking about marketing in the office and can you come in next week and talk with our team about how you might be able to help us? And I worked with him for 2 years as a client. The deal is, if he got that third newsletter, he got the first two. So it was just the right time for that. And so just think about that. It's okay, right? I get responses to my newsletter every month. I get a qualified lead for my newsletter about every 2 to 3 months, which for me is the right amount. But I'm consistent. I keep showing up, and it's the same thing for my clients, right? They're consistent. They keep showing up. The right people open. Other thing I want you to know about a newsletter, and I think this is fascinating, is 2% click rates are common. So if you are frustrated that people aren't clicking on things in your newsletter, remember that you got them to open it. You got them to the 20 to 30% spot, and now you want them to leave and go somewhere else. So make sure you aren't hiding too many nuggets outside of your newsletter and distracting them. So just be paying attention to that one. I always find that's just a helpful number for people to know. Finally, people are going to unsubscribe from your newsletter, and that is okay, right? It is not your fault. You want people on your list who want to be on your list. Did it hurt my feelings when my dad unsubscribed from my newsletter? Yes, but he's a retired banker who drives around in an RV. So, it's fine. I'll get over it. Really quickly, I want to talk about growing your list, because this is where people also find a challenge when it comes to your newsletter. You can automatically include your clients, both past clients, unless that ended badly, and your current clients. And then here's where the follow-up piece comes in. You can include your prospects. If you've had a conversation with them about working together, you can absolutely do it. And then your newsletter becomes that 5 to 12 additional follow-up points. I often tell potential clients, you know what, you're on my newsletter list. You're going to continue to hear from me on a monthly basis. Just reply when the time is right. I will be here. I am right here waiting for you, just like Richard Marx. Here you go. Don't worry about it. You're going to hear from me regularly, and add me to your newsletter list so that I can hear from you regularly and check in. You also want to make sure your referral partners are on that list. Every time I talk to a potential referral partner, I always ask to get added to their newsletter list, because I want to be able to easily forward them on. I want to be reminded regularly that they're still alive and kicking and in business. Quickly, you want to ask first for your database. So if you have an old database, you want to make sure you ask before you add them. And your networking connections, ask them. It's a great ask when you're networking. I'm growing my newsletter list. Would you like to subscribe? People usually won't say no to your face. So I have 3 to-dos for you today. I know, 3 to-dos to do today from this whirlwind conversation. Well, me talking at you, sorry. All right, number 1, I want you to schedule time after each event to do the follow-up you need to do. I add this in when I schedule something, right? So I knew today I had this going on, so I know this afternoon my schedule is kind of light, so I can do my follow-up from this event. Number 2, I want you to check in on your social media where you're active. I want you to do that daily and make sure that you're engaging with people. Number 3, if you do not have a consistent newsletter and you know you want one and you know you've been wanting to do that, I encourage you to set up and start sending your newsletter. All right, schedule time to do the follow-up, check your social media, send your newsletter. There's a lot of things that I talked about here. I have a free monthly marketing calendar that kind of helps keep you organized. You can go to yellowdogconsulting.com/calendar and check that out. All right, that was really fast, lickety split, and I came in with 34 seconds to spare. Boom.
Boom. Great job. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Welcome.
For
that
the
was fast.
really lots of great information to unpack there. And again, that was a teaser, right? So I'm gonna just move to, let's see here. Okay, so here's the final networking nugget. Having the systems in place before you attend a networking event makes it so much easier to do the follow-up as soon as it's over. So true, right? And so that leads into the next piece, which I'm sure you're going to be able to explain here, your offer. So keep that last networking nugget in mind, and Elizabeth, share with us what your offers are.
Absolutely. So as I shared, I have my monthly marketing calendar, which is a free download on my website. But if you liked what you saw in that calendar, that spreadsheet that I shared, if you don't know what to say, I created kick-ass follow-up templates to help you grow your business. They're on my website as yellowdogconsulting.com/kickass because I'm a grown-ass lady. So, and if you use the code newsletter, you will save 50%. We had a little technical snafu. The code was supposed to be exceptional, but my website and I had a fight this morning. So the code is newsletter, and you'll save 50% on those templates, and you can download those. They walk you through everything. I set up an automation for you that asks some questions along the way. And then you can always respond and ask me questions as well. And that's what we've got today. And the link is right there. Thanks so much, Amanda.
Thank you for that. Let's see here.